1,000 years if I pull this trigger. So he cold dash and ran around the block and ran around the block and ran around the block. So he cold dash and ran around the block and ran around the block and ran around the block. So he cold dash and ran around the block and ran around the block and ran around the block. So he cold dash and ran around the block and ran around the block and ran. I come from a guy making the slanging ratchet ass habitat. Drunk smoking crack in the night, bumping down cat. Everybody got set, everybody check, everybody strapped in the tech. We ain't having that. How the fuck you supposed to feel when you raise up on the hill? And even while the crackers got a thirst that you shoot to kill. Healing my babies, my touch me so AIDS. A runner represent, drop the gun, nobody save me. African race me, America embrace me. Homicidal tendency, kept up the means of slavery. Hanging me, training me to kill. They get pain and it's pain. We shake to the real. We gon' deal with you, cause we gon' kill them all you cut. On the real, all this military drilling that you talk. So for real, all these skills come to build all these bones. Cause nigga, we don't give a fuck about that. How many niggas say they ride, or they die, but they lie? And nigga, even niggas do shells in the sky. How many niggas high, so scared that you high? It's still on the field, you can tell that you lie. How many niggas say they ride, or they die, but they lie? It's still on the field, you can tell that you lie. It's scared that you high, how many niggas high? And nigga, even niggas do shells in the sky. How many niggas say they ride? Strapped up for combat, contact, we're stacking with me, yapping, we draw back. Calling that water walk, anarchy, never falling if we all up in the salt. Beat cheeks, my fist rings, my hollow tips can keep the night lit. Tight lips and clips don't complete this right. Just fighting this, striking this system gon' fall. Never cross, get the call, a nigga off that wall. And I heard the call, my DNA is talking to see. My third eye be on my eye, she talking to me, I'm writing this beat. She told me that the stuff was so cheap. Just keep the hell staying the square, we'll stop in the street. I'm not in the kitchen, I'm in the top of the street. I'm rocking shotgun, shake at the up, talking to me. I'm locked to the beat, and tell me chicken chop in my heat. When you believe it, some monsters to sleep. How many niggas say they ride, but they die, but they lie? And they even niggas do shells in the sky. How many niggas high, so scared that you high? It's still on the floor, you care that you lie. How many niggas say they ride, but they die, but they lie? It's still on the floor, you care that you lie. It's still on the floor, how many niggas high? And they even niggas do
kids killing kids, young niggas born to die before they can live. Freedom of speech, I believe in peaceful protest. And when the marching don't work, it's time to go Wild West. Revolutionary, it's time to misbehave. No more pacifying like Fred Douglass did the slave. There's always a Samuel Jackson house nigga in Django. But y'all don't wanna tangle with the truth. I spit nothing but real in the booth. The hands came home just the roofs. Uncle Tom niggas that don't pay homage. Fuck Charles Barkley and his fucked up comments. But it's a double-edged sword. Cause niggas kill more niggas than the whole police force. It's always a root to the problem. Starts with us, we can't depend on
how many niggas say they ride, but they die, but they lie? And they even niggas do shells in the sky. How many niggas high, so scared that you high? It's still on the floor, you care that you lie. How many niggas say they ride, but they die, but they lie? It's still on the floor, you care that you lie. It's still on the floor, how many niggas high? And they even niggas do shells in the sky. How many niggas say they ride?
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, the West and the Midwest, government was giving away millions of, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
All right, let's go. Let's build and connect. Make sure we good real quick. Okay. You see me? We in the game, baby. All right, so we're gonna do a salute and give respect and honor to the King, Martin Luther. It's only right to do so. I know every time, about this time of the year, I typically will see people that will be disrespectful as if MLK just wasn't revolutionary enough. Because the fact is, a lot of people, they're not really tuned in to the grassroots media. So because of that, they only hear what, like understand this. They did not kill MLK because he wasn't revolutionary. Like, they didn't kill him because he wasn't a problem. He was a problem. The sound bites that you typically hear on mainstream media is only a very small portion of what he was saying and what his stances were, and his stances evolved. And to me, the fact that his stance did revolve, his conviction never evolved, never, changed. But his strategy and his way of thinking, his paradigm was did shift, I should say. Once he got more information, that's how you know he was sincere. Besides the fact that he gave his life knowing he was going to die. He wrote his eulogy the day before he was killed in Memphis. That speech in Memphis, he was telling you that he knew it was over, and for us not to worry, to keep pushing. He ain't gonna see the end results of the work that he's putting in. So I don't really tolerate disrespect, especially coming from people who I know never would sacrifice themselves. Like, people who won't speak up against racism at their job because they're afraid to lose their job could never tell me, someone who was jailed several times, had assassination attempts, the last one being successful, on his life. You can never tell me that somehow you're more revolutionary than MLK and you can't fuck with MLK because he was too soft for you. You can't tell me that. Matter of fact, that's blasphemous. The man gave his life. The man dedicated his life. And remember, we're talking about the 60s, the 50s when he got started. Less than 100 years after slavery. We were just starting to get any type of consciousness to the level that we are now. Matter of fact, that's what started it. The likes of Elijah Muhammad and so forth. So we got to give that respect up. We got to give it up. See, what they don't tell us about what he was speaking of is the Black economic piece. I know a lot of people, when I see them saying things that are undermining to King, it's typically it revolves around the integration piece. The integration was terrible for us as a people. We should have stayed segregated. But no, segregation is not what we should be trying to achieve. Separation, that would be different. But segregation means that there's someone doing the segregating that's going to always be in their favor. Understand that when that movement was moving to integrate, it was mostly based upon social services. Meaning, we pay taxes for hospitals. We should be able to use hospitals, because it wasn't always a given that we could use hospitals. If you're in your 40s, ask your mother, ask your father, ask your grandparents if they were born in a hospital, especially if they're in the South. Ask them if they was born in a hospital, if they were able to be born in a hospital, or if they had to go to a vet to be born. It was for things like public transportation, things that our tax money went to that we couldn't enjoy. Schools. It wasn't that we wanted to be by white people and go to their schools. It was just the schools that were typically in our neighborhoods were underfunded, rat infested, had books that might have been 100 years old, literally, didn't have a school budget. So the stance was, hey, we're paying taxes for these services. Since you're not allocating any of those funds to our communities, well, then we want to be able to pick what school we go to. It's all public. It's all our taxpayer money. That was basically the foundation of what the integration movement was on. Now, of course, it also incorporated into, commerce, right? To eat at restaurants. And that was mostly like more of a affirmation of our humanity, to say, how dare you even just say, just because we're black, we can't eat here. And of course, a lot of people make the argument, and it's a fair argument, that we were better off when we had our own. And that is true. It is true. However, not every neighborhood, not everywhere was popular. I know we know about the Black Wall Street. I know we know about some of the black towns that we had and actually still do have. There's still about 20 black towns to this day that have survived. But not every place where we were had that type of environment. And before you act like the integration was the worst thing ever, and that's why you can't rock with King, just consider this. Where are you living right now? What schools did you go to, or did your children go to? Were you born in a hospital, or were you born at home? Huh? Are you banking black? Because these days it's a lot easier to support black businesses than then, because now we have the internet. See, back then, if the business wasn't in your community, you had no choice. You couldn't aggregate your money within your own people. Now we have websites. We could shop black for pretty much anything that we want. We got black banks. We get bank online. We got the capacity now. So if you're not doing that now, don't act like it's King's fault for 60 years ago why you're not doing the exact same thing you condemn him for saying that he brought to us, which is the integration piece. Don't act like, you're so revolutionary that you can't salute the King because of the movement that he was involved with and how that did force an integration, when you're not even doing what you can to make sure that you're keeping your money in your community. And it's so much easier now than it is then. So I call cap on that kind of shit. I've seen speeches of King when he was talking about maybe, more or less, maybe the nonviolence thing. I can't continue. He actually said, I'm going to paraphrase, I can't continue to tell my people to be nonviolent in America when you're sending them to be violent in Vietnam, the people who've never done anything to them. He said, I can't tell them that because that would be hypocritical to tell them not to fight back against their oppressor right here, but then send them to Vietnam to be violent against people who have never offended them. So they knew that with that amount of power, he's talking about economics, he's talking about reparations, he's talking against the Vietnam War, which was disproportionately sending our people overseas to die. My dad was in the Vietnam War. A lot of people came back from the Vietnam War shell-shocked, on drugs, PTSD, unable to get jobs, and had to turn to crime. Anyway, let's get into some more. Oh yeah, by the way, I meant to just tell you guys this. So I was on Mike TV a little bit a few hours ago. I'm going to show you this channel because I think it's a worthy channel subscribing to. This is Mike TV. We're building on a topic that we're going to transition to in a minute. We've been on the NAACP and how they kicked out FBA brothers and sisters. They kicked them out. Where is it at? Hold up. For trying to speak about reparations, or for having signs that said reparations, I should say. Anyway, that's the channel right there. This is the actual video that I was building on. But yeah, so NAACP is a wrap. Colored people, the audacity of these colored people that call themselves NAACP to not allow brothers and sisters to enter into their event because they had reparation signs, but then you're caping for Palestine. I'm going to show you that in a minute, though. Let's get back to some King. But, check out this channel, Mike TV. We're going to get into the NAACP. All the delineation that we've been talking about, part of the delineation is going to have to be from some of these organizations that never really served us and wasn't even really from us. I mean, the small hats always brag about how they're the ones that created the NAACP. And at this point, I mean, they've gone too far. We need to make a hashtag. NAACP is done. Hashtag. NAACP is finished. Something. Because we got to put it on the record officially as a people, as a movement, as a grassroots FBA movement with the new black media, letting it be known that we do not accept the NAACP representation of us. They do not represent us. Let's get back to the MLK and then we'll get right back on that. Let's go ahead and I want to play you this. This is from an interview of MLK when this dude is asking him, like, hey, how come the Jews were able to pull themselves up and all these other groups were able to pull themselves up and how come you guys can't do it? Now, first of all, anytime they ask a question like that, they already know the answer. Just know that. Know that they know the answer. They know that the other groups that were able to pull themselves up, well, first of all, just coming here was already a come up. That's why they came here. It was a come up because of the wealth that we built in this country for them to be able to flee from the ghettos of Europe or the slums of Asia or wherever they came from. So it was already a come up. They already were doing better. Being poor here was better than not being poor over there. And it was only possible because of us. But unlike us, they didn't have a system in place deliberately to keep them back. But anyway, let's let MLK give his.
Even Senator Jacob Javits asked the question recently. He said that he was a slum resident, but he and some of his fellow Jews were able to make it out of the ghetto on the Lower East Side. The same thing is true with lots of Irish, Italians. And he asked the question why the Negro finds it so difficult to make his way up out of the ghetto.
Number one, no other racial group has been a slave on American soil. It's nice to say other people were down and they got up. They were not slaves on American soil. The other thing is that the Negro has had high visibility. And because of the prejudices existing in this country, his color has been against him. It's been against him, and they've used this to keep him from moving up. In the final analysis, when you say to a man that you are in this position because of your race or because of your color, you say to that man that he can never get out of it. Other racial groups have been able maybe to change the accent, change the names, but the Negro can't.
What he was speaking to was the fact that it's systematically designed for us to stay at the bottom, unlike others. And he's right. Others were able to change their name. The small hats were able to change their name. They changed their name from the Steens and Steins and Bergs to Millers and Smiths and Blacks and King, actually. King. The last name King is actually of Jewish origin because they would change their names. They did this back in like I want to say the late 1800s, mid 1800s, according to their scholars in the secret relationship between blacks and Jews. There was a time where people were pressing to abolish slavery. And we know the reason why the North wanted to abolish slavery. It wasn't because they had love for us. They didn't see us as equal. They just knew that it was ruining their economy. And the South was getting stronger. Anyway, we can get into that at another time. But I'm sure a lot of y'all might notice. But anyway, as this movement of the abolitionist movement started to grow, the Jewish people started putting out propaganda saying how evil it would be to free these Negroes. And it would be, like making a deal with the devil. And they're going there with it because, of course, they had the most to lose proportionately. Yes, they were smaller in numbers, but a much higher percentage of them owned slaves and profited from the slave trade. So they were very much against it. And that's not the reason why, but for other reasons, they also were coming under attack at some point. Not because of the slavery, not just because of that part, but for other reasons. And what they would do is they would move up north, start buying newspaper printing companies to control the propaganda. That's when they started getting into the propaganda, into the ownership of media. They would change their names so that they could blend in. See, they could do that. Other groups have that ability, but it's systematically set up to flag us and to keep us in a certain position because that has been the bread and butter. And unlike the other groups, they fear our ability to wake up and remember who we are and for our genius to flourish because they can't compete in an environment like that. They can't compete in an equal environment. They have to rig the game. They have to. I mean, we could just look at from a physical standpoint in the sports. Every sport they told us we were inferior, we can't play with them. And then when we were allowed to, we dominated that sport and took it to a level they can never touch. In business, it's the same way. You don't have self-made billionaires from the dominant society. They don't really get it out the mud. Elon Musk didn't get it out the mud. They try to make it seem like he's a self-made billionaire. That's cap. His father owned emerald mines and all kinds of shit in South Africa based on what happened there. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, all these billionaires that you could think of, they did not get it out the mud. We can name billionaires that got it out the mud. So they have to rig the game. It's systematically set up like that. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't maneuver and that we can't continue to resist and overcome these obstacles because we can and we are. But part of us doing that is making sure that we can have these kind of conversations, making sure that we have our own apparatuses of communication and the ability to control our own narrative and teach our history the way it needs to be taught to empower ourselves and each other. So he was speaking to the fact that it's systematically set up because that's what they like to throw at us. Like, how come? And this is, we see the same thing now. Like, we've been speaking about this even recently about how they use different segments of society to pit against us or compare to us or be their model token minorities as a way to you know what I'm saying? Because if we can't articulate the reason that they know, then it allows them to continue to play the game like, hey, it's your fault. You pull yourself up from your bootstraps. But they didn't burn Italian neighborhoods down. Italians didn't create their own cities. We created cities that still exist. They had to attack them. Black Wall Street to them was a black eye. Because even during the times of the Depression, Black Wall Street was still flourishing, along with the dozens of other cities, at that time, scores of other cities around the country. About 20 of them still exist. Most of them in Oklahoma. There's some in Missouri. Florida has one. Georgia has some. Midwest has some. Black towns, black cities that still exist. Okay, let's get into this last clip I wanted to play. Then we're going to get into the next conversation. Let's go. Let's go.
So we suffer from a kind of poverty of the spirit, which stands in glaring contrast to our scientific and technological abundance. The problem is, my friends, that we have learned to fly the air like birds, and we have learned to swim the seas like fish, and yet we haven't learned to walk the earth like brothers and sisters. Racial injustice is still the black man's burden and the white man's shame. So wherever we live in America, we have to face the fact honestly that racial discrimination is present. So don't get complacent. Certainly we've made some strides. We made some progress here and there. It hadn't been enough. It hadn't been fast enough. And although we've come a long, long way, we still have a long, long way to go. In 1863, the Negro was freed from the bondage of physical slavery through the Emancipation Proclamation signed by Abraham Lincoln. But the Negro was not given any land to make that freedom meaningful.
He's talking about tangibles. Tangibles, land. Yeah.
And you know, it was something like having a man in jail for years and years, and then you suddenly discover that this man is innocent. And go to him and say, now you are free. The man been unjustly jailed for 35 or 40 years, and you just put him out of jail saying, now you are free. Don't give him any bus fare to get to town, no money to buy any clothes, no money to get something to eat. This is what happened to the black man in this country. I can't.
And that's exactly why we need them reparations. That's exactly why we need cash reparations to start off. Land too. Of course, we could buy that with the cash. The reason why we're behind in the wealth gap is because we were denied the right for so long to participate in the most common way of creating generational wealth. That's home ownership. See, a lot of the generational wealth is because people are able to own homes and pass that down to their children, and homes appreciate in value. We were cut out from that for centuries. We created the wealth that people have now parlayed into empires. We created the wealth that made it attractive for other people to come here. Matter of fact, speaking of that, let me go to my Facebook. Let me show y'all something real quick, man. Let me show you something. Because you know how he was talking about how they gave all this land, this equipment, this grants, and this money to foreign from white immigrants. That's how they were able to build up their wealth. These Irish, Italian, Jews, all these people that came, they were able to build that wealth because they basically had a welfare system in place for them. And they're doing the same thing now with their token model minorities. Check this out. Let me see something. Check this out.
Paid for. And now free rent for some migrants in Maine. Taxpayers there are footing the bill for new apartments built specifically. And now free rent for some migrants in Maine. Taxpayers there are footing the bill for new apartments built specifically for these newly arrived border crossers. Not only a free roof over their heads, they have at least, wait for it, 2 years worth of rent paid for.
So check that out. They're giving they built housing for immigrants, for illegal immigrants, with rent paid for up to 2 years. Now, if you're able to have a roof over your head for free for 2 years and the ability to work, you're going to be able to save up wealth. You're going to have the ability to be able to start business. You're going to have a advantage over, of course, over us. See, the other groups, they've already had hundreds of years to aggregate their money and to hand down generational wealth. So what they did for the European immigrants in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they're doing now for anyone besides us. The same ones who built the wealth, they can't give a program. They can't promise particular specific tangibles for Black people. Democrats haven't done it. Republicans haven't done it. The Boule Kuhn class ain't pushing for it. Politicians won't commit to it. No. Just for niggas? No. No. But when it comes to the immigrants, you know what I'm saying? And listen, when it comes to this reparations, and this is why we can't entertain anyone speaking that bullshit about we can't get reparations until we change our status and we honor the treaty of 1780 and all that bullshit. And we got to do, no, we don't. We got to be classified different and all that. That's cap. Because you can see that if they want to, they could build a whole structure. Let's watch it again.
And now free rent for some migrants in Maine. Taxpayers there are footing the bill for new apartments.
Look at that, brand new apartments. We got niggas living in slums and in projects who work every day, who work 40 hours, 60 hours a week. But they're building new housing apartments for immigrants and giving them free rent. This is Maine. Maine. I didn't even know people were migrating to Maine. I didn't even know that an immigrant would even ever have heard of a Maine. I hardly could tell you where Maine is on a map. I know it's northeast somewhere, but I mean, no disrespect to if you're from Maine, but let's just be real. Most of us, we couldn't identify Maine. We wouldn't think that there would be immigrants in Maine. Houston, yeah, I've seen plenty. I've seen how they would cater to these immigrants in Houston. We've seen it in Chicago. We've seen it in New York. We've seen it all through the Midwest. We've seen it on the West Coast. So it's like they're trolling us because they know that tangibles and reparations is the discussion and our demand, and that is growing. But they would rather give their money to foreigners who will likely send most of it back home It won't even help the average, even a white American citizen. So now we don't have to jump through no hoops and do all this extra. They could issue checks as easy as just direct depositing right into our accounts. They know who we are. The process is not complicated to identify who was FBA, who was the descendant of slavery in the United States of America, and who's not. That's not even a hard process. That's easy to do. And it would be more beneficial to the country than what's going on right now. So this is why we have to continue to push this. This is why we have to continue to have this information out here, so we have the correct talking points in the receipts and ammunition, and we can neutralize the resistance. Anyway, let's get to I don't want to be too long on this. So let's go to Twitter real quick, man. I want to show you a brother by the name of Black Alpha Network. And this is part of what the discussion was about. I think some of the brothers in that discussion on that YouTube channel I showed you on Mike TV actually went. So let me see here real quick. What's this right here? Oh yeah, check it out. Here we go. This is why the NAACP gotta go. They can't represent us, man. They cannot represent us anymore. I mean, we already knew this for a minute. We've been knew this, but we got to make it official on the record, like to where they know, like we're deliberately, specifically, and intentionally letting them know. That's what I'm saying. Hashtag NAACP is done or something. Write them, call them, post on social media at them, because this right here is despicable. Check this out.
Listen. On behalf of the NAACP, we are disinviting you to this event. This is a listen. On behalf of the NAACP, we are disinviting you to this. This is a private event. We're asking you, please leave.
So that was a representative speaking on behalf of the NAACP, disinviting or not allowing our brothers, Black American FBA brothers, who the NAACP was supposed to be created for, that they can't come on the event.
I haven't even said that. I've been sitting here on the phone. We're asking you, please, this way. Please. Can you just give me an explanation about reparations? Come on. Oh, that's what it is? Yeah. Please, this way, please. Just come on. Oh, that's what it is? Yeah. Please. You just give me an explanation about reparations. Come on. You just give me an explanation about reparations. Come on. You just give me an explanation about reparations. Come on. Oh, you just give me an explanation about reparations.
In case you can't hear him, what he said is you can't talk about reparations. That's what he said. This is the NAACP.
Can you just give me an explanation about reparations? Come on.
Oh, can't talk about reparations.
Come on. This way. Can you just give me an explanation about reparations? Come on. Oh, that's what it is? Yeah. Please. This way, please.
You talking about it right now?
NAACP.
Come on, y'all. This is so unfair. This way, please. Please. Show me peace. Actually, please.
All right, come on.
Thank you.
Reparations.
Thank you.
Reparations. Look at this, y'all.
Get that one too. Come on.
Look at all this.
Let me get mine.
We're being asked to leave, and we just been relaxing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, get everybody.
Who set you guys in charge of this?
I want y'all to remember this next time the NAACP starts talking.
Yeah, NAACP ain't got nothing
Remember
to do
this.
with us. They for color folks. Y'all for Palestinians, right?
With no explanation. No explanation
at all.
None at all.
Anything wrong?
These just say reparations on the stage, but you want to kick us out.
That's it.
Look, it's clear somebody's giving these orders. It's clear somebody must have gave him an order. But the fact that the NAACP would participate in kicking out their own people, specifically for speaking about reparations or having signs that says the word reparations. You're telling me the NAACP, the same NAACP, the colored people are saying that you can't go to one of their events talking about reparations. But this is the same organization that endorsed. Let's take this off real quick. Let's do it like this. There we go. Endorsed gay marriages as a civil right. Not like saying, you know, it'd be different if they said, morally speaking, we don't feel like it's right to withhold rights for people that have a different sexual orientation. Okay, not our fight, but I would get something like that. But no, they're saying they endorse it as civil right. Remember, civil right, the same civil rights that MLK was murdered for. The same civil rights that Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, James Meredith, and so many others were murdered for. Now they're saying gay marriage is as that. This was 2012. 2019, they say that they endorsed the LGBT right equality, or endorses LGBT Equality Act. The African American Civil Rights Group, which shepherded the 1964 Civil Rights Act into law, endorsed adding LGBT people to those the act protects. Think about that. Look, I mean, just think about that for a minute. Let me calm it down real quick. Let me have a sip of my smoothie real quick. They said that they want to put LGBT people within the protected class that the 1964 Civil Rights Act was created for. Now, this was 2019. I remember when I had my other channel back then, I did a video on this. The day that they did this very, very day, March 22nd, 2019. And within that video, I stated that now that they are endorsed as being protected in the 1964 Civil Rights Act, that makes them now civil rights group. It makes them now associated with and protected by the official 1964 Civil Rights Act, which means that they're going to have a say in the reparations conversation. This is what I said back in 2019. A couple months later, they had the hearing on the Senate floor about reparations. And some of you may remember, I think Tariq Nasheed, even within the last few months, revisited some things that was going on about that time. And I remember Professor Black Truth and the Black Authority also did videos on this. So they had a hearing in the Senate for reparations just months after this happened. Remember, I said that this was going to happen when this happened. I was like, yo, now they're going to be able to have a say-so in reparations. Months later, when they had that Senate hearing, they had Coleman Cruz, in case you guys don't remember, Coleman Cruz, a Puerto Rican born wannabe rapper, she's homosexual, actually spoke at the Senate hearing against giving us reparations. And here's the kicker. So they put a homosexual tether at the Senate hearing to speak on reparations and speak against it for us. He spoke against reparations. And it's like, who is this dude? I did some research at that time. I went to his Instagram because I remember that the Black Authority played a video that dude made, a rap video, because he was an aspiring rapper. This Coleman Cruz dude, this homosexual Puerto Rican that was speaking against reparations to the Senate, was an aspiring rapper. And he had a video called My Dick Works. In this video, he's in New York in his underoos on a subway, dancing on the handrail pole, whatever, in the subway bus cart, whatever, salaciously dancing in his underwears. This is the dude that they said is going to represent black people in the reparations conversation. Not even the FBA. He's Puerto Rican. gay rights advocate, wannabe rapper. And I was looking at his Instagram. And I'm like, hold up, this dude has less Instagram followers than me. He didn't even have 1,000 Instagram followers. So where the hell did they pluck this obscure nobody and give him authority to speak at the Senate, on the Senate floor, on the reparations conversation? It was because, like I said, what happened now that they have been endorsed. See, I understood they're endorsed. Let's read this. We don't even have to get into the article. The African American Civil Rights Group, which shepherded the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So they have a lot of credit for getting that act pulled off in the first place. So they have leverage. And they endorsed adding LGBT people to those the act protects. Not black LGBT people, because you wouldn't have to even say nothing. It's black people, whether you're LGBT or not. You're still black. So therefore, you're covered by the act. So now that allows white people, as long as they identify as being lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, and everything else. Now they're part of the Civil Rights 1964 Equality Act. And because we know that they run the LGBT, they only use these black buffers and these black mascots. See, the only reason why they were even able to be classified as some type of civil rights movement in the first place is because they would use mascots. They would use us as mascots. They would push the black gay person out. You notice how they do that? They do it right now. Most of the gay community is not black. It's not the case. But if you're watching TV, the media, these movies, they deliberately, disproportionately throw us out there. That gives them cover so they can act like what they're doing is civil rights. And then they couple it with this type of propaganda, like I said. NAACP is endorsing it as a civil right. The next thing you know, we can just look at this right here. Look at all the NAACP endorsing, votes to endorse, same sex, National Gay and Lesbian Task Force response. You know what I'm saying? But remember, this was created by the 2939s, or some call small hats, Zionists. Right? So this is the same NAACP. Let's get back to what we was talking about. That is telling our brothers that they can't go to an event on MLK Day because they have signs with the word reparations on it. So who's really pulling these strings? It's another reason why we need to delineate. We've been talking about delineation. Yeah, we need to delineate from organizations like the NAACP that doesn't really represent us. The same way we delineate from these false media actors like the Roland Martins and the Moise Lamont Shills and all these cats. We've let it be known that they don't represent us. They know that they don't even have the same pull as some of the new black media has. They don't. Roland Martin has 1 million subscribers on YouTube, supposedly. I seen him going live not too long ago. He had 25 people in the chat. 1 million subscribers. You got 25 people watching you live? It's cap. Shit. The Black Authority gets 6,000. Corey Holcomb can get 10,000. Tariq Nasheed can get 6,000, 7,000 live. You're telling me a 1 million subscribers for somebody that's been on TV for years. That lets you know. We know what it really is. But unless we continue to push in the same manner and ramp it up, continue to delineate. Delineation means that we're purifying our creed. That's what it means. It means we're cutting the garbage out. We're not allowing association with those that do not have our best interests or that wish to really just be a distraction or a sabotage. So we're saying, okay, that's cool. Y'all do what you do. We're going to do what we do. Now we don't need this organization. We don't need Black Lives Matter. That ain't really us. Yeah. The hashtag helped us to leverage a message at a time, but we knew that they wasn't really us. Just like we've been new NAACP ain't us, but now it's time to go ahead and, at one point it was a good strategy to not call out Black Lives Matter, the organization. At one point it was a good strategy to let people get it twisted and think that we're all. At one point. At this point, it's best to delineate. We delineate from these organizations, from these individuals, from these institutions that ain't really about what we're about. We delineate from those of us who continue to push negativity and they want to put energy into hating and trying to sabotage. These niggas that make thousands of videos just to disrespect grassroots activists, but never have any smoke for the white supremacists who are murdering us or systematically oppressing us or putting false narratives about us. No smoke for that. They just have smoke for the real grassroots. A lot of people lose their power as we gain momentum. There's a whole economy built upon us, dependent on them, and not really recognizing our own power. There's a whole economy on that. There's a prison economy built on that. There's an illicit drug economy built on our subjugation. It's marketable. It's monetizable. There's an economy built upon attacking us. House Negroes that will cross over and work for these Fox Newses and these other platforms because they're the mouthpiece against us that they want to be. But if they say it's racist, so they'll get Candace Owen to say it instead. See, the fact that now we are our own voice and now we can communicate to our own, we can get things popping. We can aggregate our finances in ways we couldn't. We can decentralize our support. We can decentralize our movement without leadership, without a central point of failure, without a central point of, they can't just neutralize one individual and kill the movement. That's what they were able to do. That's one of the lessons that we've learned from our struggles in the past. When they killed King, that fucked up the game. When they killed X, that fucked up the game. When they were able to identify leaders to kill and neutralize, that was able to throw a monkey wrench. Let's get back to King for a minute. We're going to get back to these videos in a minute. I want to show you a couple other things, but let's put some more respect on King's name, man. What a lot of people don't know is when King was murdered, it went down. Matter of fact, let's play this video real quick, and then I'll get into that. Let's play. Hopefully, this is fair use, so hopefully this don't get flagged or whatever, but let's go ahead and give it up.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China, even Russia, or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I've been to the mountaintop.
Now we got. I know y'all probably heard this 1,000 times, right? We're gonna break it down this time.
Because I've been to the mountaintop.
Break this down.
Well, I don't know.
Remember, this is the speech the day before he was murdered. This is his last speech. This is the same day that he wrote his own eulogy for his own funeral services.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead.
You see how he's blinking his eye? You see that? Like he's really processing the fact. So like, don't ever come to me with no disrespect about a man who knowingly went to the cross to die for us. Don't ever come with that disrespect. Don't ever let anyone disrespect someone who did that when they ain't doing shit. I can respect criticism from somebody who I know is really in the trenches. But these couch Monday night quarterbacks, Monday morning quarterbacks, trying to say how the game should be played, and they ain't never took a hut. They ain't never lined up. They ain't never did a scrimmage. You ain't got nothing to say, period. You ain't never looked death in the face and continued on your mission because you believed in it that much that you would give your life to it just to have Negroes 50 years later talking shit on your name. You ain't never done that. Most of y'all niggas won't speak up for your McDonald's burger flipping warehouse box packing jobs. So you ain't got shit to say. I don't have to agree with everything. See, this is how come I know when people ain't really about that life. When I know when they really ain't really into activism and doing things in the community. Because one thing that you will learn if you've ever had to put together programs in your community, which I have for years, mentoring, which I have for years, being involved in processes that got laws changed in our favor, which I have. This ain't to brag. I'm just saying because of that experience, because I've been in the trenches for a minute, actually doing things, I know how challenging and difficult it could be. And because of that alone, you'll have a respect for other people who are doing the work, even if you don't like them personally. I've been in situations where there's people, I don't like this person personally. We can catch a fade personally, but I know that this person is sincere about what they're doing. I know what value they're bringing to the community. We have to work together. I have to respect and salute it, even if I don't like the person as an individual because of the work. And I know how difficult it is. I know what kind of challenges you face when you're heavy into activism. I know what it's like for counterintelligence to really be trying to put messages out there. I know what it's like to have your organization sabotaged. I know. There was a time when these flyers went out to a couple cities around Seattle, a couple neighboring cities. I'm not going to say which ones, but they actually sent these different propaganda flyers and shit to the city council to a couple different cities in the Seattle area. And these flyers were meant to undermine me and my organization and trying to get Black people and Mexican people to go to war. And they sent them all out to different city council members. And when I got to it, when somebody brought it to me, I'm like, oh shit. I called up the homie Big Dre. Some people know him as Gorgeous Dre, Andre Taylor. He had the Not This Time movement, which we were able to get a law change that's never happened in this country before or since, which of course didn't get any national coverage. I was trying to tell cats while we were doing it, like, pay attention. because if we could do this in Seattle, y'all could do this in Atlanta, and Houston, and LA, and Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, and DC. But anyway, so I called him up like, yo, check this out. I want to show you something, man. What can I do? Give me some advice, big bro. So he put me in contact with the mayor of a particular city who happened to be Mexican. And we chopped it up. And we agreed that we're going to do a press conference to let it be known that those flyers were Fugazi. And what they did is these people sent flyers acting like they were coming from us. I was part of the new Black Panther Party at the time. I was actually the Western Region chairman, Western commander. And it was supposedly from us. And they were quoting all kinds of, it was just Fugazi. Like it was, if you know, it was Fugazi, not from us, but the general public wouldn't. But the purpose of that was to undermine us and to create friction between blacks and Mexicans. Now, the only thing is, in the Seattle area, blacks and Mexicans, they ain't really at each other's necks like that. Maybe in Eastern Washington, but in Seattle, we don't really funk like that unless it's really a reason for funking. Street shit, business shit. But we don't really just have that. Like in some cities, it's like that. LA, maybe some places. But anyway, if you have never been through those things, I've had city council members greet me in my face when we're trying to get this, what was it about? Gentrification. We're trying to fight the gentrification because these cats was moving in, trying to buy up shit, trying to mess up our neighborhood, our community and shit, tear down our institutions and all that. And she came there, you know what I'm saying, and just shaking hands, smiling, all this stuff, wanting her vote because she was running for city council for Seattle, this and that. And then when people found out, oh, you're talking to the Panthers, next thing you know, she goes publicly on the media undermining us and, oh, no, I didn't know. And, you know, they're cop hating, racist, radical, blah, 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 all this bullshit. I'm like, whoa, sis, you have my card. You could have called me. Anyway. So if you've never been to that, if you don't know what it's like to maybe work 10 hours at a job and then all your free time, you're not even with your family, you're out in the community putting together programs for the youth, advocating for youth to get out of juvenile for nonviolent offenses so that they can enter a program that you created that can get them back on track. If you don't know what that's like, man, then you really shouldn't be speaking on some of these things. And that's how I know, like, just a respect factor that you have to have. I'm babbling right now, but I'm just saying. Anyway, let's continue.
But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop.
Okay, understand? Listen to what he's saying, man. Hold up. I know I was babbling and shit. I was going on, but look. Let's go ahead and listen to this MLK.
It really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind.
All right, so listen.
Days ahead. Well, I don't know what will happen now.
He said he don't know what will happen. He's talking about himself and his life. He doesn't know what will happen. He doesn't know if he's going to live very much longer. This is what he's talking about.
We've got some difficult days ahead.
You can tell by the eye blinking. He's processing this shit.
But it really doesn't matter with me now.
He's saying it don't really matter with him now. In other words, don't worry about him. It don't really matter with him. He doesn't care what happens to him. He's willing to sacrifice his life. This is motherfucking Jesus. God damn it. Does this? I mean, and it kills me when some of these Israelite brothers, no disrespect, if you really following your shit and if you really believe, because I believe if you really believe, then you know it's our time, so you should know that God is on our side and we're going to be able to push through this, right? But if you're giving all this reverence to these ancient 1,000, 2,000 year ago characters that can't be proven, but you can't see a prototype of that in front of your face, God, I can't, you know.
Because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind.
You hear what he said right there? He said, I've been to the mountaintop and I don't mind. Listen.
I don't mind.
He says, I don't mind. But he never got to finish that thought because the crowd's going wild right now. And if you've ever done public speaking, you know when the crowd starts going off, you just be quiet and wait for them to finish. So he lost his train of thought, but he said, I don't mind. So what was he going to say he don't mind? Because this isn't natural to say this.
Like anybody, I would like to live. Like anybody.
He was going to say, I don't mind dying. That's what he was going to say. That's the word he didn't say. He was going to say, I don't mind dying. Like anyone, I would like to live, but he didn't get to say that word. You got to just feel it. What else makes sense? He knew what it was. None of us can say that we would be able to do the same thing, knowing that it was going to literally cost us our life. You can't say that you'd make that. I can't. I don't know. I would like to say yes, but I don't know. But he did it.
I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place.
So he's trying to protect the people from being too hurt from what he's really saying, to where he's, you know what I'm saying? Like he's so worried about, he's so unconcerned about his own life and about not hurting our feelings or not making us feel sad because he knows that he's out of here. Man, don't ever put some respect on the king, man. Yeah, I know I roll Malcolm X too. I get it. But put some respect.
But I'm not concerned about that now. Concerned about that it has its place. Still a long, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land.
Man, come on, man. He's letting you know. He knows where we're heading. That's the promised land. He ain't talking, you know, mythical spookism. He's saying, yo, I've seen it. I see what it's going to look like when we got our shit popping. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. He said, I know we're going to do what we're supposed to do. We're going to be returned to our glory. I seen the mountaintop. I looked over and I seen where we're going, where we're going to be.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
He walked off. He couldn't even like man, that must have been tense. He had to walk off, man. He's like, yo, he knows what it is. He gave it up, man. And we got Jesse Jackson pointing his crooked, raggedy ass, treacherous finger, you know. Anyway, let's get back to what I was on. So I'm just saying, man, we got to give respect for King. Another thing, being somebody that's from Seattle, I know my history. The Black Panther Party never had a chapter outside of California until Seattle chapter was created by the Dixon brothers, Aaron and Elmer Dixon, who I've met several times. They were the first chapter. Seattle was the first chapter outside of California. And it was created as a result of King being murdered. After King got murdered, that's when they formed the chapter. They were part of SNCC. They were part of all kind of other stuff. Once King was murdered, they said, fuck it. And if you don't know, when King was murdered, it went down. It went down across the USA. Shit burned. It was war on the streets. I know they don't show you that, but this is a fact. And I've heard this from actual people that were in it, like the founders of the Seattle Black Panther Party chapter. It was war in the streets for days. And if it was going down in Seattle, where we don't really have that many black people in Seattle like that, not compared to some of the other major cities. So if it was going down there, you know damn well it was going down anywhere where we had people: Milwaukee, Detroit, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philly, Atlanta, DC, all over Mississippi, Texas, California. It was going down. It was going down like 2020 rebellion. The 2020 rebellion was that was something special. And the beautiful thing about it is, see, we have so much influence. This is why they this is why they have to usurp the hip hop. This is why they have to take hip hop out of our jurisdiction. This is why they have to try to crowbar Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, and everybody else in the creation of hip hop. They understand the influence of hip hop. They understand the influence of us. We are so influential that when we start doing something, other people want to get involved. When we were protesting in 2020, when we was on them streets, other people came out. You've seen it all over the world. You've seen it all over the country. White people came out to support it. Everybody was trying to support it because that's how influential we are. We set the tone of what goes down. We set the trends. This is why they let Rittenhouse get away with murdering those cats in where was that? In the Midwest, wherever that was, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Because it's the same thing like what they did to the two Jewish cats and the brother in Mississippi. They killed their traitors. You're a traitor if you're pushing for equality for black folks, or you're pushing against the race soldiers' ability to kill with immunity when it comes to us. They get rid of their traitors because they understand if it sparks something. Like, have you ever wondered why? I know I'm all over the place, but you ever wonder why they don't show other people taking L's like us? Because they don't want them to feel any camaraderie with us. But that's a whole different subject. Let's get back to this thing real quick.
That's why he's still talking on the stage. There's probably about 20, 30 brothers and sisters who are Foundation Black American Freedmen. And they're taking us all out one by one for no reason at all. We were just watching.
Wouldn't even let someone come in, but now you kicking us out. We ain't did nothing.
Shameful.
That's out, y'all.
Hey, that's okay though. It's a new era. The NAACP ain't popping no more.
Oh, okay, you don't want to speak. It's okay. We got you on camera.
We got him.
Don't plead. It's okay, baby.
No tangibles, no vote.
Yeah, kicking us out because we application for.
How you feel about it, brother? How you feel about that?
He ain't got no say.
You black now. How you feel about that?
I ain't got no say.
Okay, so he feels the same way.
Oh, okay. That was a Shriner right there. Okay. These old useless organizations gotta go.
Let me see that sign.
Kicking us out.
Reparations for foundational Black American freedmen, not illegal immigration. That's why we being kicked out. That's why you see police.
Understand that this isn't new, right? Our own people going against us isn't new. Having resistance from our own people when we're pushing for even their best interest isn't new. Don't let them fool you like in the 60s, everybody was down with King and everybody was down with X and everybody was down with the Panthers. That was not the case. It wasn't. These same Negroes, I will tell you, like, oh, yeah, I used to march with King. Oh, I was down with X, brother. I was down. No, they weren't. They were Taharka Bays, some of them. They were some of these Negroes that have platforms. It's just they didn't have platforms then. They were speaking ill upon the movement, the grassroots movement. Matter of fact, the first person who tried to kill MLK was a black woman because she was afraid that he was stirring up trouble and making it bad for the good Negroes. She stabbed him in the chest with a letter opener in New York while he was signing autographs for a book that he wrote. Almost killed him. He was in the hospital. You can look on YouTube for a speech called "If I Sneezed." He gave that speech because when he recovered, he was letting you know, like, yo, it was so bad with that thing lodged in his chest that if he would have sneezed, his heart would have ruptured and he would have bled out. So the first person who tried to kill him was one of our own because they were afraid. See, some of our people are afraid to see us resist and challenge authority. This is why so many of these tethers come over here with all that, oh, you need us. You complain too much. I mean, they're afraid. Like, remember, these cats came from countries where they were 95% of the population and they let 5% rule them. So to them, they can't conceive that we would fight when we're the minority. So that same type of niggertry was happening in the 60s. Same shit happened with a lot of these rebellions. Why you think Denmark VC's rebellion didn't take off? Because niggas were afraid. There's always been that. So this is another delineation point. See, any of the successful rebellions or ones that had moderate success only had so because they first things they did is they killed the house niggas. Even before we can get busy with anyone else, we got to kill, you know what I'm saying? We got to purge. That's what this delineation process is about. It's about purging. Getting the weak niggas out the fucking paint. Because they're going to sabotage. And they can get closer easier. Unfortunately, the first line of defense for white supremacy happens to be people that look like us. But now it ain't just FBAs. Now they brought all these tethers that try to blend in. Off brands. Knockoff. Jordan knockoff niggas. They brought these Jordan knockoff niggas from the Caribbean and from all these other, you know what I'm saying? Look like us. They might hide their accent. If they from the Caribbean, they might have names like us. We got to be able to detect so we can delineate. We have to purge. What reminded me of that is this cat right here, this old ass Shriner looking nigga, thinking he belongs to some type of fraternity order or whatever. And I'm not against Masons. I know some Mason cats. I know some cats that really get down, that really 10 toes down. Stand up. But as an organization, is they really doing that? And is there some soft buttercup, flaky ass Jakes up in there? Yes. Delineate.
Reparations for foundational Black American freedmen, not illegal immigration.
So that's why they're probably mad right there. We're talking about tangibles for ourselves exclusively, not illegal immigration. And since the NAACP is endorsing immigration, endorsing Palestinians, foreigners, and the advocacy of them. Have you ever heard the NAACP like say that, you know, we need reparations? Have they ever entered the reparation conversation further than, yeah, let's have a study? They're supposed to be an organization that represents us, but they don't because their purse strings are held by those who created them. And those are the same ones that created Anti-Defamation League. It's the small hats. I call them 2939 from my Hebrew Israelite days, if you could dig it. So of course, who you think gave them the order to endorse LGBT? So no, they don't push for our tangibles. They will kick niggas out. They'll literally kick niggas out. Imagine another group doing something that audacious, that they would kick out members of their own group for pushing for the best interest of the group. You wouldn't see that. All right, that's the space that I was. Okay, hold on. Let's see what else we got, man. Okay, here we go. Look at this. This is at that same. Listen, this is at that same MLK event, y'all. Check this out. This is the same MLK event where the brothers couldn't get in because they're talking about reparations. This is what they're endorsing, though.
Look at this, you guys.
I need y'all to go to the
Look at this right here. Palestinians, family, are speaking over our reparations claim. Look at this right now. Next time they try to tell you about solidarity, next time they try to tell you
I got
got
you,
a friend and a buddy, brothers and sisters are standing on lineage, speaking on reparations, coming forth, speaking that real, and Palestinians are out here trying to out-drown us. Look at this. And nobody came to get them out. Nobody. Nobody said nothing. But when it come to us, look at that. This is what we talking about. This is why it's a new time. No tangibles, no vote. If you ain't freedom it first, then you ain't nothing. It's all about ours.
This is my ancestors' day. You cannot have my ancestors' day. This is my day. This is my ancestors' day. Go to Palestine and change.
Look at what they're doing, man. They're deliberately trying to water down our movement. We got to think about that. But really, what we really should do is pop our own collars and you know, dab to that shit, because that's how effective we are. That they have to have a collaborated effort. They have to have a multinational collaborated effort to sabotage what we're doing and trying to control the narrative, because they see, look, ain't nobody else moving weight like the new black media, really, not on the grassroots. CNN, MSNBC, the Roland Martins, the Griots, all these, nobody's really fucking with them. The only people that's messing with them are people that's like our parents' age. People that's, you know, they have limited time. The youth ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. So they're actually letting a Palestinian protest at an MLK event hosted by the NAACP, but they won't allow their own people in there to talk about or hold signs that say reparations. This is MLK Day. MLK was for reparations. He said, we're going to get that check. He spoke on reparations several times. See, these cats don't really want the real legacy of MLK to be known. Even these bought and paid for coons are doing the bidding of their masters. These house Negroes are doing the biddings of their master. They don't want the grassroots in there. If it was Black Lives Matter, the organization, they would have let them in there. They don't want the grassroots. They know, they hear us. They pay attention to us. They tap into us. They know what our sentiments is. They know the influence that we have. They know the ability that we have to garner support. They see the movement. See, there's different stages when you're trying to suppress a movement that goes against the establishment. The first thing you do is you ignore it. Then you mock it. Then you fight it. Then you lose. So right now they're fighting it. They tried to ignore it. They can't ignore it no more. The numbers are too big. The physical presence is felt. They're seeing the aggregation of resources. They're seeing that we can control our own narrative. We can create our own documentaries. We could all be a decentralized media network because all the different platforms that we have. They understand that. So now they got to fight it. They got to try to neutralize it. Let the Palestinians talk about what's going on in Israel. That has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with the United States. But they're going to let them protest on MLK Day. Nonetheless, on MLK Day, they're allowing protests for Palestine. But they're not allowing reparation conversation. We don't need the NAACP. They are our enemies at this point. They are against us at this point. They want to advocate for everything but us at this point.
Get that whole thing. We coming to get our check. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a foundational Black American, not a Palestinian, not a person of color. Look at this. These two are not together. They're trying to talk over us. Don't get it twisted. We are out here dolo. All day, baby.
Now imagine if there was some holy day for Palestinians or some other group, and they were having an event endorsed by an organization that represents their group, and we came in there and bum rushed it talking about our needs and wants. Imagine that. Do you think that a Jewish organization would let us go to a Jewish event celebrating one of theirs to talk about our needs and wants? Hell no. Would they turn down other Jewish people that was coming there to support what they should be about? No. Do you think any other group would do that? But what the NAACP is doing to us, would any other group do that to their own and then allow outsiders' needs to be advocated for on a day that's holy to them, that represents someone who died for them? Would they allow an outsider to come in there and bum rush and usurp the energy of that movement? But the NAACP at this point they're treacherous. They're treasonous. I don't even know if they could be treasonous because they was never really for us. They wasn't even created by us. So they're just ops. They're Trojan horse. They're acting, you know what I'm saying? They present themselves as a gift to Black people, but inside they're warring against us. They intend to war against us. They really just want to be a controlled, not even opposition, a controlled agent to us, meaning that they're acting like they're trying to help us, but they're really not. They're cloaking themselves as us as they advocate for everyone but us and for things that actually go against our best interests, like LGBT. They're saying I'm anti-gay. I'm not anti, thinking that they don't deserve the right, to be, prosperous and live a good life. They deserve that. But, however, pushing that agenda would lower our numbers. Pushing that agenda means we don't reproduce. Pushing that agenda means that we don't coexist healthily with nuclear families and with traditional relationships, which is the power that keeps us alive. It's the power that sustained us. Black men and Black women working together, not the other shit. They're pushing for immigrants. They're pushing for foreigners. Like, I get it. Stop the war. Listen, I don't like what's going on in Gaza, even though, either they're not our people either. I mean, the Palestinians, that's really just white on white crime that's going on over there, honestly, because in case you don't know, most Arabs and Palestinians, they're white. they're white. They're Caucasian. They're Caucasoids. They're white. Some of them are a little bit browner, but they're white. But that's just to say that, look, it has nothing to do with us. Yeah, of course, anywhere people are getting slaughtered and genocided, that's a terrible thing. I'm not against people that want to advocate for that. But we're talking about MLK Day at an NAACP event. That is highly inappropriate. That's more inappropriate than us jumping on either side, which I don't condone that either. I don't condone that. I condone minding our business. I condone taking our energy to empower us to serve our needs, not out of hatred for anyone else, but out of necessity. It's necessary. We can't even be good for others until we're good for ourselves. We've been exerting our energy into helping all these other groups. This is why the LGBT was able to usurp so much power so quick. That and the fact that they were astroturfed. It wasn't grassroots. It was from the top down. But they also used us to empower, just like the feminist movement. It's time to delineate from all of that. That's what 2024 should be. Truth coming to light, and delineation and purification and purging of our own ranks. See, that's what this Cat Williams situation, that's what makes that so relevant. He didn't say what we weren't already saying and what we weren't already knowing. He just said it on a level that made it a global, national conversation. But it's even deeper than just that. All this shit needs to be called out. He did it in the world that he operates in, entertainment world, and he did it for the culture as well. But the same thing has to be duplicated in different segments of society. That includes politics, that includes these fugazi organizations. We got to call them out and delineate. If it means war in a social, political sense. Politics is war. This is political. It is wartime. It is time to start slaying these enemies of ours, even if they look like us. It's important to neutralize those who go against us. That's where we're at right now. If that's not the direction that we move in, we'll never accomplish the goals that we know are within our grasp. Everyone knows it's within our grasp. The fact that they continue to ramp up their efforts to sabotage and undermine us only means that they know we're getting stronger, and at some point we will be unstoppable if they can't neutralize it soon enough. The writing's on the wall. They know it. It's up. When we really get codified and fight, we win. Our genius is admired. Like, they know. Like, who invented pretty much everything we use? You can't go a day without something we invented. Not even a day, because you can't listen to music. Can't use it. You can't drive. Can't turn on your lights. Can't use a computer or a phone. Can't use a refrigerator. This is our potential. This is where we're at right now. It is time to declare or to recognize and assert our power. It's time to continue to level up. It's time to take every resource that we can muster and put it towards the progression of our people. It ain't about hate. It's about necessity. It's about doing exactly what everyone else does, and that's look out for each other first. It's about honoring our ancestors and those who put in work for us in the past. Let's see what else we got from the Black Alpha Network as we continue. Look, they got Negroes out here with the poppers. They brought out, look, man, this is crazy. This is an NAACP situation, man.
Look at this, y'all. They're turning on the fire truck, and they're about to go full 1960 on us. They're threatening to spray us. No lie.
Oh, or maybe South Carolina.
Probably gonna pull out some goddamn dogs. They trying to go 1962. They trying to go full lynching.
Look, they trying to really say this is MLK Day. They trying to bring back the MLK shit. They bringing back water hoses, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like NAACP. Listen, if the NAACP at an event that they're holding for MLK will allow this, not advocate against this, we don't need them. If they won't allow us to speak what really the youth and what the future progressive black people of America are stomping for right now, they're not on the same page with us. They're useless. And we have to let it be known that they don't represent us. That will break them. The same way it breaks the rest of their political and media shills. Once they know they have no influence, no endorsement from us, it's a wrap for them. And they can fall to the wayside. But we got to make sure that we keep account of who these clowns are so they can't try to double back. This is the same principle that I told you when you see some of these cats that dedicate their platforms to sabotaging new black media and progressive FBA efforts and activism. When you see these cats and identify these cats, pay attention not just to them, pay attention to their supporters. Because if we don't, what will happen is over time, they will try to double back and act like they was with us the whole time. And we can't have none of that. We don't need everybody to be down with this. Everybody ain't going to be down with this. Everybody shouldn't be down with this. We only need the real ones. 50 niggas is what Pac said. In other words, just a few can change the world. That's where we're at right now. It would be better to have a solidified, purified few than a bunch of fluff and filler and shills in a multitude that will really only be turned against us anyway. It's sad because, you know, part of this delineation is saying that, look, we recognize that when it really comes down to it, look, we tried to rock the Pan-Africanism for over 100 years. I mean, just think about this. And this is why we can't take advice from, I'm sorry, Flea and Tethers. We can't take your advice. Yes, we love our diaspora brothers and sisters and our continental brothers and sisters, those who really rock with us. We're family. But when you come over here with your loser attitudes and trying to sabotage us, we don't need you in the mix. If you're not going to get done with our program, you're useless. If you're not supporting us the way we say we need to be supported, you're useless to us. Because truth be told, we're the global majority. If y'all would have jumped on track with the Pan-Africanism when we was saying so for the past 100 years, because literally, I think Marcus Garvey was operating in 1924, wasn't he? So that means there's been over 100 years of a Pan-African effort to reach over to our brothers across the globe and in the Caribbean and in South America, and they refused to take our hand. They said we weren't like them. Now we're saying, okay, you're right. Now they're mad. But the truth is, if they would have jumped on board back then, we wouldn't be in this situation anymore. We would already be where we're supposed to be. The only reason we ain't is because they use us against us. They use you against us. We would already be where we're supposed to be right now. It would be a new world order. Africa would be up. The Caribbean would be up. We would be up here running shit. You're slowing down the process. So we're delineating until you guys get your shit right. When you get your shit right, holler back. Till then, we got this. We all we got. We all we need.
They literally out here firing up the truck like they about to spray us like we in motherfucking Selma. Ain't gonna be none of that this time. Whole different time, whole different era. Trust me when I tell you, please believe. Brothers and sisters standing on lineage.
Listen, salute to these brothers on the street, man, and these sisters on the streets, man. That's really stomping hard for the culture, man. I've been there. I've been face to face with race soldiers after they kill one of ours. I've been in these situations. I know how sticky and dangerous these situations can get. I know that not everybody's built for this, but I know that it is necessary. I know it has to be that way. I know that to really move white supremacy, two things will always get results: blood and money. If you can't threaten their money or threaten their livelihood, well-being, inconvenience them, they're not budging. Power recognizes power. I'm not saying I'm advocating for, going Chris Dorner, but salute to Chris Dorner, of course. Salute the Micah X, of course. But I'm saying if you're not willing to do that, then you better be willing to aggregate your resources to empower ourselves and to take power for them. Like the boycotts that was able to be done in the 60s were very powerful. Boycott shouldn't even be in our lexicon anymore. It should really just be a lifestyle change. We should really just be always trying to spend money with ourselves as much as possible. That has to be part of the process. Anyway, man, I've been on this thing for a minute. I know it's late over on the East Coast. It's late here. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I appreciate y'all rocking for this long. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Follow on Twitter at JDizzle RBG, excuse me. Fuck with Black Alpha Network and of course, like I said, Mike TV. I was on their building for a minute earlier today, but this is a good platform. It's New Black Media certified, foundational Black American. Mike TV is cool. Make sure you subscribe. Let them know I sent you. I'm out. Peace.